What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Orange Bloods Live going into the weekend. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Chad Hastings. He's got a pointing thing. It's like Tourette syndrome, but with pointing.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace to Scott Hall.
Yes. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Continued rest in peace. Not like just starting now, but extended back.
Been a minute.
Like, comment, subscribe to the page, all those things that we tell you we love for you to do. Jump into the Specs chat. They are a fantastic sponsor of the show, as is the Texas Card House, a title sponsor of the show. So, give love to all the sponsors, like the Board of Regents at the University of Texas gives raises to its football coaches, Chad. Love.
Wow. I'll give you a graphic for that. Whoa.
And the Card House, embrace them like they're Kyle Flood or Will Muschamp for that matter. Oh, man. Find somebody in your life the way UT loves to pay its coaches. And go play some cards there on the app, the Hijack Poker app. Chad, news today, right? There is some newsy stuff. It came out yesterday that part of when the Board of Regents gets together will be approving the Will Muschamp contract. And then extending Johnny Nansen, extending Kyle Flood. None of that. Those guys are on staff. They're not getting fired.
Were their deals up?
Yeah, this is
they needed to be redone.
Or they just be working off contract. So This was essentially a 1-year extension of previous deals. And we may be in a situation where a year ago, the same thing is happening, unless they're given multi-year deals. Muschamp's situation different, obviously, than Nansen and Kyle Flood. Will Muschamp gets a 3-year deal. It's basically $3 million per over the life of the contract. It is broken down into a base salary and then professional service payments, and the amounts per year are, slightly different. For instance, he'll make $1.08 million in base this year, and he'll make $1.12 the next year, and then $1.16. It's staggered in a way where in his final season, when you combine the professional services with the base salary, it's basically $3 million ish.
No pressure.
No pressure. It's not quite right. I'm looking at it now. 2.7, 2.8, 2.9 would be the annual averages.
Yeah.
Longhorns are going to pay him at the upper echelon of what defensive coordinators across college football are paid. I don't think anybody.
From what I'm reading, Catch, I think he's number one. There's not many. I read something today that said Jim Knowles at one point was the highest paid guy, but he actually took a little hit going to Tennessee now, I think. And by a hit, he's going to get 2.2. So I think Muschamp might be the number. Yeah, the number one. It's a tough thing. 2.2. Anyone who makes 2.2 million will tell you tough to get by. But at that 2.8, I think Muschamp might be number one. So you've talked about how much Texas, we talked about how much they just spent in the portal. Man, are they spending on this new DC?
Yeah, and look, I think part of today's headline will be that Kyle Flood, because of his own, I guess he has an amendment in his contract that allows him to get a 5% bump on the highest number of his previous deal, which was $1.45 million. But based on the structured language of his deal, he technically gets a raise. Now, no one is trying to give it the appearance, but Kyle Flood will make more money this year than he made last year. Nice job to the agent that put that little piece of language into the deal. They don't all have that language. And if you're Kyle Flood today, you're like, hey, you know what? My agent paid for himself with that one little piece of language in there. Yeah. Nice job. I can appreciate the hustle.
Yeah, because agents know football's going to football, so they make sure to put stuff in there like that.
Hey, man, if you're not going to give my client a multi-year extension, you're going to make him year to year. You're going to pay him the most on any single year that you've paid him. Touche. Again, whoever it was to put the language in the contract. I don't really have a huge reaction to the Kyle Flood deal. It's ridiculous. He's stealing money at 1.5 million per year right now until that side of the ball gets a lot better. I mean, if Muschamp's on the high end of the DC scale, Kyle Flood's at the high end of the offensive line scale. They literally had open heart surgery on their offensive line a month ago. They're not even out of ICU yet because we don't even know if the guy that was brought in to be the second starter is even going to be in school. We don't know for sure. Like every time I see it, I keep thinking that is going to a courtroom and we'll see what happens from there. I have no idea. And even then there's no depth. And then you start talking about going into 2027. I mean, there's a lot to unpack. We don't need to do it now. But 1.5 for Kyle Flood seems like a high number. I don't care. We've already known that he was going to be extended. They were going to take a pay cut.
This is being Texas, Catch. This is really being Texas here.
Well, and I think even paying Johnny Nansen $1.2 million a year for your linebackers coach, which is more, and he gets a 10% raise based on kind of where he's at, which is why he goes from 1.1 to 1.2. Like, this is the cost of doing business. What I will say, there are just no excuses for Steve Sarkisian. I mean, fair. I remember when Charlie Strong was the head coach at Texas, Chad, and I remember having a member of the Board of Regents when it became known, when everybody kind of got the idea that Charlie was not going to work out. You started having conversations. I can remember having a conversation with one Board of Regent member who's no longer with us. And I was like, are you guys really like the school presidents flying down to Tulsa? You guys are begging guys to come be coordinators? Like, you're going to pay 1 point whatever for, you know what I mean? I'm having this conversation about, really? For that guy? You guys are slumming at Tulsa for hires? And the word that I got back was, hey, Charlie's probably not going to make it. When it's all said and done, and they say, why did Charlie Strong not make it at Texas? The one thing they are not going to say is that we did not give him the money to be successful. It could be a million reasons why it didn't work. It will not be because somehow we didn't financially support him in a way that gave him the opportunity to win. And you know what, to Texas's credit, there's a lot of stuff that gets said. Austin's been called a cesspool by Kirk Herbstreit. There have been some things that have been said about the university, but nobody has ever said they're cheap. They won't spend what it takes to get the job done. The thing that popped into my mind when this story hit yesterday, and then kind of reading some more of the details as, the details and language of the deals have become more obvious, is that, this is, when you take in, I think Texas is probably going to have like a $50 million roster. When you throw Sark on there, okay, now we're over 60. Now you're throwing in a coordinator that's averaging at almost 3. You got an offensive line coach making 1.5. You got Nancy making 1.2. You add those two things in together, you got 3 assistant coaches almost making $5 million between 3 of them.
Yep.
This is a 70 plus ish. I don't want to get mad at me and be like, it's 66 million, jackass. Okay. It's 70 million ish.
Yep. It's headed there.
And I mean, Kyle Flood got a raise. The prices are going up, people.
You think the price of gas can get crazy, man.
So the thing that I would say is they go into this season, everybody at Texas, the one thing they will know is like, man, Sark can't ask for more. Yeah. He's going to have the most expensive roster. He's got the most expensive coaches. He's making the most amount of money. There is a pressure storm coming. And the only way to avoid it is to win really, really big. Because I do think these numbers, the thing that just stands out in my head is like this, they can't have another year like last year.
No.
But that is the thing. It is okay. You can almost shrug a rebuild season, injuries. You can talk yourself into, look, at the end, we're 10-3. We finished 12th in the country. That's our bad season. Cool, right? Like you can rationalize that. That is, and you know what? That's fair. That's fair. If Sark were on here right now and he was like, guys, quit busting my balls. I got national semifinals 2 years in a row. I had a bad year. We won 10 games, finished 12th in the country. My bad. Like, if you guys want to maybe cut me some slack. And you know what? That's fair. Mm-hmm. And it's why nobody ever has a conversation about whether Sark's on a hot seat. Truly, we've never had that conversation. We've talked about what it means for him to be the play caller, and we've talked about elements inside of his job, but like, he's safe. But if you go 2 years in a row and you're not making, in this new world where we judge success by, did you get in or did you get out? Like, which was it? Because if you don't get in, it feels like you've wasted a season. You can't have the most expensive roster, the most expensive coaching staff, the most expensive coach, and then not be getting results that line up with you're spending the most money.
Plus, you can't have him not go to the playoffs as the starting quarterback. Can't do it.
Well, then there's that, and I wasn't even thinking about that, but that does add a cherry on top of the better do something this year, or I think, Chad, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, like, this isn't like yelling fire in a crowded theater. This is like, hey, people, just so y'all know, we're all going inside the theater to watch a movie. And just so you know, a whole bunch of kerosene cans in there. Just need to let you know. Well, flammable stuff is in that room. Let's be careful.
You said the right word. It's pressure. Anwar used it in the Sunday pulpit. It's not about a hot seat. It's about a seat that always has a certain amount of pressure. And this year, there are extra dials, switches, hoses connected to that seat. And the pressure is just going to get cranked up. There's no way around it. There's absolutely no way around it. If you guys want to throw,
the other thing they had to do with Muschamp, they had to pay him more than Kwiatkowski.
Yes, absolutely. What was Kwiatkowski at? 2.5?
Yeah, it's like 2.2, something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but he was also among the highest paid coordinators in the country.
Right, and he's another big one. We're talking about this pressure here. If you want to throw a super chat in, obviously Specs is the one that brings us the chats and the super chats every day. Let's hit that Valentine spot one more time because it's tomorrow.
Amour. Love. What does this word even mean? In France, it means wine, champagne, chocolat. Where does one go to find such things? Specs, of course. For the heart of Specs beats with wine for your Valentine, bubbly for your beloved, bonbons for your bébé. Ah, Specs knows the language of love and how to keep your francs in your pants. Say enchanté to savings.
And remember, if you're the kind that you need something quick in the next day or so, you're just thinking romantic picnic, go to Specs, especially one of those Specs that also has like the deli area and that really has that the food. They all have food, but if you want to go to one of the bigger Specs, they'll help you. You're freaking out, walk up to them and just say, I want to do a Valentine's romantic.
Are you doing anything for Valentine's Day?
Picnic.
What are you doing with the missus?
We're day drinking.
Little day drinking. When do you day drink?
In fact, we're going day drinking with friends, and she has now said, because we're doing that, she's like, I don't know if I want to even do anything that night. I'm like, really? So,
hey, can I give you the 30-second version of how lucky I am?
Sure.
Found out Tuesday that the kids were going to be with my mom on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly it was like, we have Saturday free, which is different because I'm used to on every weekend, the house full of kids. I got 4 or 5 kids in the house every weekend, right? Saturday night we're free. And Heather drops like I want to go to this steakhouse. I've been driving by it. Let's go here.
There you go.
Well, man, I'm getting online, trying to find a spot. They're
booked.
Every place within like a 60-minute radius is booked.
Yep.
She calls to tell me that she called the place that she wanted to go to, and they were like, sold out. I did a refresh on the restaurant on accident, and it popped up that there was a table at 7:45 that was available for 2.
Uh-oh.
I bought that bad boy like that.
I think
somebody must have canceled.
Okay.
And I just happened.
Look at you.
So not only was there just no place to get into a steakhouse in the greater Houston area, but I literally got the place that she wanted at a good time. I told her I got a place, and she's like, "When are we going? Like 3:00?"
She thought it was gonna be and you're like, how dare you? 7:45.
7:45. Then she didn't believe it. She was like, "No, that's not true." So anyway, that's my story. The real thing may not even be more interesting than the story of how we got there, but I do feel a little bit like a knight in shining armor having secured 7:45 reservations.
We're both doing pretty well for Valentine's Day. You're going to go get to have that steak, and I may not even have to buy one, so it's going to be awesome. It's
going to
be a good Valentine's Day.
Going by 3:00 in the afternoon, it sounds like.
Dude, it's going to be great. Yeah, no, it's like things will be purchased. It's just going to be during the day. There'll be a daylight Valentine's Day for us. That is what is happening. By the way, as long as we're talking Valentine's Day, real quick, hey, couple ideas. They may have a space out at Hay City Store. Valentine's Day, go get in the Ice House. Have yourself a chicken fried steak. Nothing says love like a chicken fried steak out on FM 150. I'll throw a little QR code up for you there. Hey, it's an idea. Out in Driftwood. Maybe you go see them. Tell them you heard about it on Orange Bloods Live. It's a good idea. It's a thought. Food's waiting on.
Chad, on the pressure thing.
Yeah.
What incites the pressure? Right? Like, I'm trying to think. What
incites the pressure?
Well, look.
It's an easy answer for me. I'll give you, there's one thing that could happen in 2026 that could add even more pressure to what you're talking about. Lose to a rival.
Yeah.
You lose to one of them and it dials up a little different.
I just think and we've had this discussion on the show in the last week or two, certainly. One of my just concerns about this upcoming season is just I don't know why I feel like I remember 2009 different than most Texas fans. In real time, I thought Texas was overrated all season. I never thought Colt McCoy should have gone to the Heisman ceremony that year. He was nowhere near as good as he had been the season before. The offensive performances in big games that year just never took off. They weren't good against Tech. They weren't good in a 16-13 game against Oklahoma. They had to fight tooth and nail against Nebraska in Dallas of all. You know what I mean? Like, they're in the Metroplex and with a chance to go to the national championship game, and they barely by the hair on their chinny chin sneak into that. But they get to the finish line of a national championship game. So it felt like everything paid off. So people forget the angst that existed, but there was so much hurt from that 2008 loss in Lubbock. In a weird way, it set the template. Maybe Texas didn't recover from that Alabama loss because it never really recovered from the Crabtree catch, really. And because the only way you could recover from the Crabtree catch was to beat Alabama. And when they did that, then they just died. The program died. And I don't know. I can look at this team and I look at what they have on offense. And Muschamp's back on defense, and it's one of the more talented teams in the country. This could be the single sexiest team in college football next year to watch play for 3.5 hours. They can be Arch Manning's your quarterback. You've now surrounded him with playmakers. This place has a chance to be the it spot in college football. Forget about whether they win the national championship or not. I'm just talking about they could be worth the price of admission on paper when you look at what they've got. But man, lose to Ohio State in week 2. And suddenly the angst of the entire season is, oh my God, this is one of these games. If you lose this, that's it. You can't lose anymore. And I wonder.
Yeah, because the fan base didn't complain about those games when they won them. They lose one last year, and that tension did start to build because then it could lead. Obviously, it leads you to the natural spot of, wait a minute, does it lead to not getting in the playoff again? Because your ultimate answer, Catch, we all know, the ultimate answer to how do you crank the pressure up, it's if you feel like they're not going to make the playoff, that's going to drive fans crazy. Whenever that happens, whenever that, if you're midway through the third quarter of the third loss, we remember what that Georgia game felt like last year. It felt like, oh, good grief, they're going to have to come up with a miracle to get in, and it didn't happen. That's what it is. You got to ultimately make the postseason, and man, week 2 is the beginning of it.
Think about 2 of the big 3 examples from last year of teams that were projected to have potential national championship seasons. And then think about how it really went down. And for both Clemson and Penn State, and think about what happened to Penn State. They were okay. It got to like October, and they were still kind of where they needed to be. And then they lost at Oregon or whoever it was in that one game. And then it was like,
hey, they fought Indiana remember the Indiana game? They had them right there.
The moment of the pressure and the failure of, oh my God, we've talked all offseason long about what it can be, and it's gone. And the moment that the dream kind of dies, it's hard. Yeah. So it's one thing I will give this team a lot of credit for is that they never stopped fighting. But maybe that's because it never quite felt like the dream died until the absolute end. Yeah. That they always believed. If we beat A&M,
9-3 belief.
9-3 belief. But the thing is, I think going into this season, that Georgia game, we've talked about it. When Texas went into that, we talked about the stakes. And we said, well, there's a world out there where teams lose and this happens and it's you don't embarrass yourself. And it wasn't even like Texas quite did that. They ended up getting throttled in that game. And maybe that was the dynamic that made 9-3 not plausible. That if you lose, 16-13 in a way that maybe it's different. I don't know, but we have no proof of that. When you're Texas and you get to 1 loss, the pressure to get to 2 will be immense, right? There will just be this, I guess, and this will sound like a little bit, I think, for some people, like you're worrying for the sake of worrying. And maybe that's who I am to some degree, that I always have my eye on all the positives that can happen. But man, I definitely think about what can make this thing not work. What is the downside? And one of the downsides isn't, to me, this team and the way it's constructed. One of my downsides is this group of fans not swallowing their own if they lose to Ohio State. If there's a little bit of tension during the season, they've got to act like they've been there before and handled this, because if you look at Clemson and you look at Penn State, the thing that you could not have told fans of either of those 2 teams that there would be a point in October when coaches were getting fired and quarterbacks were being questioned and the season was being discarded as just outright trash. You wouldn't have been able to tell them that in August. They had something to do with that themselves. This is not letting Dabo or James Franklin off the hook. But sometimes those games were lost by very fine margins, and sometimes they weren't. Clemson ended up being a disaster. But Penn State, James Franklin probably sits around thinking to himself, how did I lose my job? What are we talking about here? Like, I had them in the playoffs. We lost to the national champions by a little bit, closer than anybody else. Pretty much played them all year long.
Damn, now I got to wear burnt orange and maroon at the same time. What?
I think it's a call for me to tell Texas fans, y'all really, as the season gets closer, I think the way Texas fans manage their emotions, which spreads out to social media, which spreads out to shows like ours, I think the fan base got to be on point because you look at this schedule, there's going to be stress. You look at this schedule, it's hard. There will be a hard moment or two. You can't have three. But you can't let one become part of the reason why you lost a second. And then when you lose a second, you can't let that pressure engulf you in a way that you don't give yourself a chance. This team, if they can get in, nobody's going to want to play them any more than anybody wanted to play Ohio State in 2024. Yep. Nobody wanted. Everybody knew, oh, yeah, no, they lost to Michigan. They suck. But nobody was like, I hope Ohio State's on our side of the bracket. That's just not what happened. And Texas would be the same way. There'll be a lot of people hoping Texas doesn't get in because if there's a team in the country that could be a sneak in and get in, an 8-9, something like that, that could win a national championship, it might be Texas with all of its talent, like Ohio State. Let it all just play well together for 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 games in a row. They are one of those programs where you say, well, if they play 3 weeks in a row at an A level, they're going 3-0. And not many programs in America in 2026 will be able to say that. So they're as dangerous as anybody. But, man, they got kerosene cans, Chad, all over the place surrounding them.
Yeah, and some interesting home games this year that didn't exist last year because, truth be told, Catch, there was a weird nervous game last year where the crowd kind of like got into some weird feelings and, booed the offense. Remember who the opponent was, though, that day? It wasn't Ohio State, it wasn't Ole Miss, and it wasn't Florida. All 3 of those teams come to Austin this year. So there's massive games. Those pressure games are in front of those people that you're talking about.
Look, the Ole Miss game.
How are they going to deal
harder yesterday?
Yeah, it did. And somebody put that in the chat too. We should mention that. Yeah, unless, there's some injury or whatever, Trinidad Chambliss going to be back for Ole Miss, meaning he probably is the one that comes to Austin to take snaps. Hello. Arch Manning versus Chambliss in Austin. What a ball game.
Oh, it is. Again, I think Texas, there's not a team in the country I want to watch play football more right now. I'm dying to see what this team looks like. I'm dying to see what Arch Manning looks like with Cam Coleman. You guys know I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over Coleman's talent. I'm curious about these running backs. They should be matchup nightmares. They really are the best from a versatility standpoint. Sark can be so creative with these guys. How much can he even get them on the field at the same time? Will they even do any of that? We know what the potential hurdles for this team are from a personnel standpoint, and the offensive line is what the offensive line is, and we'll see how big of a deal that is. But they got so many pieces in place. It can be a magical season. And I kind of feel like the only thing that might keep it magical from being magical is if the pressure cooker in this place turns up so high that it's unsustainable from a management standpoint. And, as somebody that does a show in this market 5 days a week, 4 days a week because of Tuesdays, I know as well as anybody what this – I know what it's like to have Xavier Worthy come to me and say, hey, I got to stop doing these orange blood shows. We've lost 5 games in a row, and the negativity, like, I can't deal with it. Like, I've had guys come to me and say it's just too much. And if you go back to 2021, whatever that was, it wasn't whatever the hell 2026 is going to be from a pressure standpoint.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right, we're going to wrap a little early today. And real quick before we do, again, shout out to all the great sponsors. Texas Card House Specs. Y'all know we love some AV consultations as well. If you need that great setup, get the screen you want to see all the pressure in 2026. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. Shout out to AV Consultations. And, of course, If you need another idea of where to head for Valentine's Day, how about, honey, let's go drink some flavored vodka for Valentine's Day? That's not a bad idea. They might have a spot for you right out there on one of those outdoor seating areas. Give them a call. Find out. Go have a tasting. Go have some barbecue. A unique experience for Valentine's Day. Couldn't hurt. Deep Eddy Vodka, Wednesdays through Sundays, including this Valentine's Saturday. Check them out. Thanks to all of our great partners. Thanks to you guys for letting them know that you hear about it on Orange Bloods Live. We certainly do appreciate you for that. Catch, any more pressure that you'd like to apply this week, or are we done?
You know who's got some pressure on them this weekend? Random last 30-second thought.
Who's that?
Texas women's basketball.
I had a buy or sell for you if we got there. What a wild conversation from Vic last night.
Vic is out of his damn mind.
I don't know that I agree with what he said, but boy, does he have the right to say it. I'm like, damn, coach, that's some sensitivity about your team.
No,
I mean, it was bad. It wasn't a great loss. I'm not saying it was a good game or anything.
No, they got their ass stomped.
But like one of the softest teams I've had in many years.
Not one of, Chad, probably.
Probably the
probably the softest team I've had in years. We have no heart.
He said they had no heart. When I watch that team play, I don't think either of those things, but he's the coach. That's crazy.
How do they are national championship contenders, and it feels like what happens next with that team. You can't have that happen.
Who they play this weekend?
Dude, they play Tennessee on Sunday.
Nice. Okay.
And that is, that's at Tennessee. That's at number 22 Tennessee. It's a game Texas will expect to win, but you're on the road 2 days after getting throttled on the road. We would have said before the stakes of losing last night would pop up, we would have said, looking at the schedule way back in the very beginning, oh, damn. On the road, two tough venues back to back. That's probably one of the trickier things on the schedule. Now it has always been, but now it comes following on I expect Texas to bounce back.
Yeah, I do too. But he also knows this, Catch. He knows what's at the top. He knows what's in his way. Gino's got one of those teams. All of that, everything that happened last night to Texas might not matter, but he knows if you're going to get through one of these Gino teams, you can't play like that. You can't even play close to that. You better find a different version of yourself. I think that's what he's trying to get out of that team.
You know what I saw last night? Tom Pender's throwing his jacket. Like sometimes,
right? Sometimes you need to do it. Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think he looks at the finish line and says, you know what? The only way we beat South Carolina or UConn in the final game of the season is if we take something from last night and in 3 months from now we say our season changed that night. Because the thing is, if you play that card and it misses, then you may – now, it may be that if the finish line is a national championship and that's the only thing that matters, then if you get wobbly knees in late February, you were never going to get there anyway.
Exactly. But he's got to take a shot.
But the stakes are really high. So when we talk about pressure, I think that game on Sunday is as interesting as anything else in men's or college basketball this weekend, only because I can't think of another coach who will go into this weekend having put his top 5 ranked team
just
on such blast.
God. Yeah. But that had nothing to do with Vandy. Nothing. It had nothing to do with the fact that was Vanderbilt. I think he's thinking of bigger things. And
no, I don't disagree. I'm just saying you can see the swing that he's taking and what he's going for. Yeah. And if it connects, we'll look back and go, that was chef's kiss perfect player management.
Yep.
Because that never happened again, right? It's like, did Texas ever get beat by 20 again the rest of the season? Oh, hell no. That didn't nip that in the bud. But boy, you'd like to not be going to Knoxville on Sunday. That's all I'm saying. You'd like
that's fair
to be at home.
That's fair. But Catch, we're right in the middle of one of those runs. People thought they were dead. It's almost like the Patriots coming back to the Super Bowl too fast. People thought the Geno stuff was gone. Nope. We're right in the middle of it again. I saw this stat the other day. It's like, yeah, they've won 50 in a row by 25 or more. And it's like, wait, what? Huh? Stop. What did you just say? We're in one of those little sections. When he gets going with a team like this, you just got to watch the F out. And Vic knows that deep down. There's other coaches.
Texas has already beaten South Carolina this year. Texas has already slayed a slew of top 10 teams.
Right.
They haven't played UConn, but they played almost everybody else, and they've proven that they can beat everybody else. But Vic's got to be frustrated to know that his team can beat anybody in the country, and they have. And then the last night can still happen. He will think we're too good for that, and he should be right.
Yeah, that was bad. They got stepped on. It's going to be interesting. That'll be a fun part of the weekend. All right, you know what another fun part of the weekend is? I got to thank Boss Man before we get out of here, because this guy right here, said I can have Monday off. President's Day. I hope y'all have a boss as good, as kind, as benevolent. I'm going to give him a big screen. As sweet,
I'm still working. I'm going to do the show.
As caring. Look, y'all know what I told you a couple days ago when Ketch took the personal day. When he took we tried to take a partial personal day. We told you how hard it was going to be because he's the hardest working man we know. But this is the kind of boss he is. He will bust his ass. He will work way harder than you. And then he'll say, oh, yeah, you can have the day off if you want. And then he doesn't really keep score later. It's not like he's going to call me Monday afternoon and go, how's your day off going, jackass? He doesn't do that. He lets you have a day off. Thank you, boss.
I'm doing that now.
Thank you, boss man.
I'm going to do
you
that
are
now.
The man. I would invite you to take Monday off as well.
You can come back and be like, you know what? I take it back.
You're gonna.
He's not as good as I thought. You're putting unneeded expectations on me now. Like, God forbid I stub my toe. Let me say something this weekend, and then it'll die.
No, this is why I had to make sure to say how great a boss you are, so you don't reconsider like Sunday night and say, "Screw it, we're doing a show."
Well, now I'm going to do that too. See, you better say let's go goodbye before you say something else that I'm going to do that you said I haven't done yet.
Fair enough. Let's go goodbye. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Happy Valentine's Day weekend. Everybody be safe, and we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy your weekend and maybe President's Day. This is Orange Bloods Live. We love you.